Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Mike Johnson coming up here in a moment. Bunch of games in the NHL tonight. Blue Jays back in action. And Max Scherzer back in town. Had a cortisone shot down in Pennsylvania, and he's out indefinitely. We don't know when he's going to resume pitching. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with him. But it's not surgery, and I guess they're trying to put a bit of a Band-Aid on it and hope that somehow he can get back on the mound. And
on a more pressing note, Mike Babcock did not go near that private bird once he was canned.
You have that on authority. You have like a source that would know that definitively. You're breaking news right now. Please continue. Go ahead.
Dude, you think I'm some kind of bozo? The answer was quick no.
Okay.
The question was, I can't even believe I typed it. Did Babs have access to the bird when he got canned?
Okay.
And it was a quick no.
All
Nothing else, just no.
Okay. Well,
Which
we don't want to
makes
waste
sense,
people's
Hayes.
time,
Like
but
when you incorporate, hey, I want the bird. It's like while you're employed by the team, these are the hours. There would be writing in there. When you get canned, there's no more bird.
Okay.
Like
that would make sense.
You're getting the money that you're owed, but you're not getting the bird as well.
Okay. So there it is. The perks have come to an end. Unfortunately for Mike Babcock.
Are you can't be shocked by that. Like,
well, I can't. Here's
what
I will say.
Arrangement would have, like, hey, I've been fired for 2 years. Like I'm gonna.
Well, let me put it this way. If there's a will, there's a way when it comes to a lawyer, and ultimately, if it's on paper, lawyers will fight. MLS's got a lot more money than Mike Babcock. Maybe they would have said, come get it. If you want to meet in court, we'll meet in court. We'll take this down. We'll take you down. And it's not worth it. And I'm using Babcock as an example. I don't even know how it came up. I'm not even sure where this started 15 minutes ago. But perks are in every contract. Juan Soto has perks in his deal that are outrageous.
Dude,
and they are ironclad.
There's a deal. If I'm giving someone $675 million, or is it $765?
$765.
$765. Sorry, pal, you're not using our bird too.
Like, well, he is though. That's the thing. Exactly.
I get it. But I would be like, there's.
That's where you draw the line. $765 million. Fine, take it. But I got to draw the line on the private bird.
And what? You want a couple seats for your buddies?
He's got it all, man. He's got seats behind home plate and a suite for every single game. And that's another thing that I'll bet you that would be a fascinating contract to look at. If you get injured to the point where you can't play anymore. Let's say in 7 or 8 years, this guy has life-changing surgery or something, can't play anymore. I'll bet you those perks are there all the way through the contract.
Probably.
Those things aren't leaving if he's not playing for the Mets.
Yeah. That I would not be surprised by.
But that was my point. With the Babcock stuff is extreme, and private bird stuff is kind of crazy. But if Babcock had Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment over a barrel, they were dying for him.
Yeah,
he
could have put anything in the contract, and they would have rolled their eyes and said, "All right, fine.
Exactly.
Now are you coming?"
Because no one thought they'd fire him.
Right.
Like that was another thing. Like when Babcock got here, I fully expected this is like a player contract. It's a full no move, full no trade. He's coaching this team for 8 years.
I thought he was going to be the first coach on Legends Row. I thought he was going to be like the great Mike Babcock that took these guys to the greatest heights, and they won cups. And we ultimately know how it played out, but.
Yeah.
Well, he
was talking about was going to go down.
It was barely a couple years into the deal. He was talking about, coaching the team beyond the deal and and all the years they'll have together and for sure. But look, to Hayes' point, we're not saying it would have been like standard procedure, but in the heat of those contract negotiations, there have been lawyers who miss stuff. Like they forget to put in the fact that if you get fired, this provision is null and void. It happens, man. And he gets exploited.
It's too bad for Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
I pity Mike Babcock for not having access to the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment private plane after being fired.
He's got a lot
shameful.
in the kitty as well.
Yeah.
He's probably the highest grossing coach to ever coach
is
in the
anyone
NHL.
even close to his $8 million a year? Like that's what he was making, right? Wasn't it? Yeah, it was. It wasn't quite $8 million. No,
right around 8.
It was. Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but it was a lot of money. I don't know who the highest paid coach in the league would be right now. That'd be a good question. Like, who deserves to be the highest paid coach in the league right now? Forget owners, forget marketplaces, forget history. Maybe like, who do you think has done enough with their team, and you believe they would be worthy of that type of investment into the future? Rod Brindamore comes up. John Cooper should come up. I think Paul Maurice, he just won a cup and what he's done down there.
Both have signed recently. I think Paul Maurice just signed an extension, I believe, and Rod Brindamore signed another deal.
Yes,
after
he
all
did.
The owner was pissing and moaning down there.
John Cooper, like Jared Bednar, I would think in Colorado should be making a decent amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good question. Like, who was considered the number? Like, because there was a time Babcock, that was his title. He was the best coach in the world. It was subjective.
I think it's Rod Brindamore and John Cooper right now.
Those are the two guys.
I mean, let's not put them in the same conversation. I know you're like Cooper's done it, man. He's got Stanley Cups. I mean, Brindamore's still.
If you want to put him up there first, it's John Cooper. It's like he's one of those guys where nobody's going to management and saying, I'm sick of listening to this guy. He gives them the right amount of time off, and he gets them to play, and they win. And they win the three cup finals in a row. And now they might have another chance this year.
Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. How would you answer that question? The clear-cut number one coach in the NHL.
It's a tough one. I mean, I think you guys nailed the two I would consider, Coop and Brindamore. I would only say that, and I think John Cooper would probably deserve to get paid the most. Would know. I don't think Brindamore is getting paid anywhere near the most, given where he works. But I wonder, if you put Cooper in Carolina, would he get more out of that team than Rod Brindamore? I'm not sure he would. Like, I think Rod Brindamore gets the most out of his team, as does John Cooper. But I just think that, Brindamore is able to draw everything they have on a team that's not as talented as what John Cooper's had to work with in Tampa. But I mean, I don't know, whoever coached Canada's Olympic team, isn't that the answer? Whoever that guy is probably considered the best coach in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of who else would be in the running. I mean, it should be Cooper. Again, I think Maurice, who's a lifer, who's been around and has obviously done a great job. Brindamore's done a great job. But I'm not sure who the highest paid coach is in the league right now. I'm not sure who that would be. I mean, I'm sure we could find out. It's not generally something that's public knowledge. But the reason we bring it up,
McClellan be up there, like Tom McClellan in Detroit. He was making like 5 or 6 or whatever.
He's been making $5 million for a long time.
Man, that's a good run. Like,
he's had a nice run of a decade or so making that much money, at least.
Oh, yeah. It started in Edmonton, didn't it? Where it was like they brought him in there at the beginning of the Connor McDavid type of era.
Yeah, after San Jose. Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it was like 5 sheets. That was the going rate for the up-and-comer because of the Babcock deal. It was like you get 5 sheets if you're a good NHL coach, and he's been making 5 sheets for a long time.
Well, Doogie just said that he thinks, based on his quick research, Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh might be getting the most money right now. And he's making like 5.5. And Sullivan's been a really good coach. He's been there a long time. Tough investment right now when you consider how they're playing. I mean, and they don't have the horses to do anything differently, but that's a tough one to chew on. You're paying that guy that much money, and they're going to miss the playoffs for, I think, a third year in a row. That's tough, man.
Johnny, would you not agree that Pittsburgh, it's the weirdest operation to watch this year? It's just like they get crushed every night. They have no goalies. Their team stinks. Sid's getting points. Nothing else is happening. And then it's like you just have to look at it and say, there's Sid over there. Like, you can't critique it. You get like there's no ramification. Like, nobody gets fired or anything. It's just like, this is what we do. This is what we do in Pittsburgh. It's goofy to watch.
They are still living off the grace of the Stanley Cups, right? I mean, and the 15-year run of excellence. And so I don't know how long that lasts. I imagine they have new owners, right? The Fenway Sports or whatever called Fenway Sports Group, whatever it's called, bought those guys. I think they might have sold them a little bit as well. But new owners aren't tied to that previous success. So those guys would be not keen on paying a coach 6 sheets to get them into 28th place or wherever Pittsburgh is. And I don't know their system that well. But a lot of times this time of year when you're a team like Pittsburgh, you empty the bench, right? You get all these top prospects that come up out of junior, out of college, out of the minors, out of Europe, get them some games. And, like, I don't know if there's that many of those guys available. Like, Rutger McGroarty just got called back up. Remember, he was a big prospect in Winnipeg, captain of the World Junior team for the Americans. He got traded for, Braden Yeager. And had to spend the whole year in the minors. So I don't know even if replacements are coming in Pittsburgh.
No, and that's the concern. I mean, they acquired a bunch of draft picks, and that's going to take years to flush out. You got to pick the right guys too.
My point is the idea of telling Sid that they're going to put something around him to give him one more.
That ship has sailed. It's gone.
Yeah. And
he's not
I don't even know if Sid's demanding that, but if he is, someone's got to just say to him, "Dude, sorry, that train is left. Train is left. So get it out of your head. If you want to go somewhere else and play, you can, but it's not happening here.
That's a you
problem. The nonsense need to stop.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
If Sid thinks it's happening, that's on you for not realizing it's not going to happen.
We've heard some people in the media, people on TV saying stuff like, Pittsburgh's got to pick what they want to do and give it. They've picked, they've chosen, they're rebuilding.
There's no picking.
I'm saying, they've picked their path. They've picked their path. Their path is they're going full rebuild, and it's tricky when you have those guys on the team. But that's what they're doing. Look at the trades they make. Look at the picks they've acquired, the draft picks they've acquired. And that, even with Sidney Crosby around, as great as he is, that process takes 5 years to flush out the contracts like Tristan Jarry's or Erik Karlsson's or Malkin's or whoever, and then get these other young players and have them build you back up. That takes 3 to 5 years, and 3 to 5 years is beyond the end of Sidney Crosby's career.
Yeah, don't you have to apply pressure, though, to fully commit? In other words, don't they need to kind of push Sid out the door? And I know that's delicate, it's tough, it's got a Matt Sundin vibe to it, but that's where they're at. It's Matt's in 07, 08, where it's thank you for everything, we appreciate it, we've got to go in a different direction here. Please allow us to trade you for assets. And I don't know how you do it because it's ruthless, but I understand what you're saying. They are kind of moving in that direction. They've acquired pieces. They made a bunch of trades that would indicate that. But you got 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out if you're just going to say, well, but we're going to keep playing with Sid and Gino and Letang's going to be here and Carlson's going to, and we're never going to even try to push them in a different direction or even contemplate the idea of moving off them.
So, Hayes, I love the cutthroat nature of you as an owner or a GM. It's fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. That's how I would think I would be. Okay, you're you, I'm Sid, and I say, hey, GM Hayes, you're doing a great job. I love it here. I don't want to go anywhere. Just so make it clear, I'm on board. Whatever you want to take us, I'm there to lead us the way. So I know I have a full no move, but we don't need to talk about that. I'm just letting you know I'm part of the program. I'm with you. Where do you go from there? Where do you, GM Hayes, take it?
I would be blunt, and I would say, that's great, Sid. We are going to be awful for years. So that's fine, and I would I can't force you out. I can't force you to waive, but you got to understand something. You're never winning again as a Pittsburgh Penguin.
Yeah.
I would just be blunt with him. I'm not sugarcoating it. What we're gonna do. And here's another thing that you have to understand. There's a chance you're not playing on the first power play anymore because you're not our future. But you got to be blunt. No, you got to be
down, GM Hayes.
You got to be blunt.
That's a dumb comment.
You got to be blunt. You got to be blunt. We are thinking 5 years down the road. You are not going to be a part of that.
I get on the horn to Pat Brisson and say, Briss, could you believe what this guy said to me?
Yeah.
I think we should leak this to an insider. And guess who's not going to be having a job in the 3 to 5 years of no longer in the power play? You.
Maybe.
This is the challenge.
Maybe. I go to ownership first, though. Let me clarify.
You went too damn far with the power play.
I go to ownership first. I fly to Fenway Park, and I say, I got to meet you in center field. All right, I got to meet you at second base or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. If Sid isn't willing to waive, that's fine. Do you want me to build something in 5 years? Do you want us to have something in the future? If so, I have to prioritize the kids on the team that are going to be a part of it. And that's not. I'm not going to ice him out. I'm not going to play him the fourth line. I'm not going to make him a healthy scratch. But I can't make him the primary piece of the rest of what we're doing the next 3 years, because then that is stunting the development of the kids that are actually going to take us into that next wave. That's GM 101.
Okay.
That is how you debate.
I appreciate your efforts, GM Hayes.
Yes.
Our season tickets are now down 42%.
Wait till we stink in 3 years and Sid's not around.
We're bleeding on a $120 cap. We're bleeding $38 million a year as an organization. And I know your contract is tied into the profitability of this team, so that's going to come out of your salary, GM. And then when it leaks out, the amount of heat you're going to take, and our organization for trying to ice out the guy who saved the franchise is going to be hot. And are you ready to deal with that kind of heat? And this is sort of what would be playing out. Like, how do you pull it off? Unless he says, and what you're hoping, and I think what you would be hoping for is that his competitive spirit, and you can have that conversation. Listen, Sid, we're not going to be good. We're going to rebuild. We're going to retool. We're not going to, all these things. We're not going to spend near the cap. You're not going to have good players. Like, this is where we're going because that's a prudent play to do. You're hoping his competitive spirit outweighs his sort of loyalty or legacy feelings about being a one-club player. And if it does, then you're set. Yeah, we'll send you where you want. We'll try to make the best deal we can. But if it doesn't, then I don't. It's just hard to pull off.
Very difficult.
Logistically,
very difficult.
Hard to pull off.
Yeah, you got to be respectful of the guy, of course.
But MJ, I mean, is it unrealistic for me if I'm Sidney Crosby to be sitting here looking and saying, wait a second, last year we finished like 3 points behind the Washington Capitals, and everybody was saying, "Oh, the Capitals, it's just about Ovi's goal chase. You know, they're not going to be competitive. They're going to have to rebuild." Suddenly, they're at the top of the standings. Ovi's playing great. By the way, they got good goaltending. What do you know? If you get top 5 save percentage instead of bottom 5 save percentage like the Penguins have, suddenly your team starts to look a lot better. Like, is it unrealistic for Sid to sit there and go, why does it have to take so long? Like, look what
But are
the
you
Capitals
saying,
just
Dave,
did.
get me a goalie and I think we can do damage?
Start
I think
there.
that would honestly be that would be crazy though. If you got him a goalie, I think it would be crazy to think that just a goalie alone would help that.
Well,
team.
it wasn't just the goalie that the Capitals got. Obviously, they made some other savvy acquisitions. But my point, MJ, is does it really have to just be tear it down, get everybody out of town? Like, Ovi's sitting there going, "Hey, we rebuilt on the fly, and suddenly we're a contender."
Brilliantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they swapped out 8-10 players, and crazy that they hit on virtually everyone except for maybe Mangiapane is maybe the only guy they brought in that hasn't been lights out great. You know, from Strome to Chychrun to Thompson to Dubois.
Yeah.
Rasmus Sandin is a player down there, man.
What do you know?
Not to mention, they have a stacked system. This Ryan Leonard kid who's going to play tonight, watch him. He's going to be like the new pesty good player. They got Crystal. They have good players coming. But I think, Fast, you can say do that, and it's, viable. Say, hey, they just did it. Let's us do it. The likelihood of that being successful is very, very low. We've seen a lot of teams. We saw Detroit try to do that, right? With Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petrie and Patrick Kane, and it didn't work. And they're going to be stuck further back for longer because it didn't work. And that's the risk you run. If you try it, it works. Awesome. You're Washington. If you try it doesn't work, then you just prolonged your sort of window of being mediocre or worse for even more years, and that's the challenge that they would have. But, you could say that as a player, but the likelihood of it being successful, tricky.
But I would just say, I don't know about you, O-Dog, but don't you sort of owe, an all-time iconic player?
No,
in the way that
you do not.
Well, I think you do.
You do
Look
not.
at this guy, how ruthless you are now. Go ahead.
Well, look,
you deserve to treat him respectfully.
When he's playing well, though, like he's like
second
Sid's
power play.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
He's playing
Guys,
so
my only
well
point
that
on
they're
all
in
of this
26th
is
spot.
you obviously respect the guy, but you're looking at the results and you can't keep lying to yourself and saying, okay, they tried to keep this dream alive to keep the team competitive. It's game over now. Sorry.
Well,
But Sid's not the problem, is my point. Ovi's not the problem. Sid's not the problem. So Sid's sitting there going, hey, they respected their guy. They built a whole new team around him. I'm still going good. Like, I'm still a relevant player. I'm still a Team Canada lock.
Yeah, but it was either two ways, Feschuk. They either needed to do it the Dallas way, where you have Wyatt Johnston and Rupe Hintz and Mason Marchment and those young kids that are coming up, and they're the main stars of their team, Jason Robertson. And those youth supplement the veteran guys like Ben and Sagan in Dallas. Or you could do the remodel, what they did in Washington, and you hit on a bunch of guys. But when you don't hit on them, you've got Detroit.
Why so negative? Maybe you you don't have any faith in your boy Dubas there to hit him?
Well, here's the elephant in the room is Dubas tried that and he got it wrong.
Right, there you go.
He went out and got Riley Smith. He signed Ryan Graves. He signed Jari. Exactly. He brought in Newell Achari.
Yeah.
Try again.
For Carlson.
Brought in Carlson. Like, Dubas screwed it up.
Try again.
Dubas he had an opportunity when he first got there. They had flexibility and cap space, and he wasted it. And he got it wrong.
I don't disagree with that.
That's what
the
happened.
problem is you can try it again, Feschuk, but what are you going to do with all the contracts and all the players you've got on the roster right now? What are you going to do with Ryan Graves?
Hey,
what are you going to do with Carlson?
That's why you get private jet access. So, Doug, that's why you get the private jet access from the Fenway Sports Group, because you're supposed to figure those problems out.
That is that is valid. That is valid. That he is. That's his job, is to figure that out. Like, as the GM, you're supposed to be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's heavy lifting. It's tough, man. But
and the other part about it, though, Hayes, I think we can't be naive to suggest that management, and it's not because it's Kyle Dubas, on every team, Toronto, Pittsburgh, Montreal, whoever, they don't operate in a vacuum. Owners like to get into the management's ear. And I don't know if Fenway Sports, who bought Pittsburgh, if Kyle Dubas came in and said, listen, it's time. We got to rip it, but we got to rip it down. We can't re-sign Letang. We can't re-sign Malkin. And they're like, we just bought this team. We're not going into a 7-year rebuild right away. We're not trading away icons. Like, I'm not sure if it was completely independent in that situation or anyone around the league. Lots of owners like to have a little bit of say on the direction, the general direction of the team.
yes, valid, as they should. It is their team.
Exactly.
I mean, they can have some sort of access. It is their money. Johnny, where are you on the Jani Hakanpaa scenario? We're starting to push it in a direction where Jani, he can play. We want to see him play game 1 of the playoffs. How comfortable would you be in that idea?
Oh, boy. Yeah,
Don't be negative. Come on. Root for Jani Hakanpaa. Get him in the lineup.
I want his knee to be good, but, like, okay, we're expecting a guy who is a big, heavy, not fleet-footed player on a bum knee who hasn't played in a year and a half to step in and play in game
so
1.
Negative, man. Come on.
Well, when you put it that way, Johnny, obviously it's far-fetched.
Over guys who played all year. This is the thing. It's not that. Yes, I mean he could be a good player. He has been in his career, and maybe he's healthy. I have no idea. But is he going to Benoit's not perfect? I understand that. I get it. I get it. And there's some holes in his game. I get it. But is Hakanpaa in the high-pressure situation? You get on the road, you're like, okay, you're up against Kucherov. Excuse me? I'm doing flow drills in practice right now. Like, I'm not ready for Kucherov in points. It's a real risk. Like, if he gets in, things are not going well. Or there's injuries. Like, I can't imagine Philippe Myers and Benoit would be significantly above him on the depth chart.
Okay. That's what you were saying, Dave, that you think it's – because there really isn't an 8th guy that we can name right now. In years past, remember, it was like Giordano at the end of his road. Gio was like the 8th guy, and then there was like a 9th or 10th, maybe a kid hanging around.
Sometimes there's guys in the minors that just all of a sudden playoff time just vault ahead of regulars.
Marshall Rafai, is that he's the 8th guy, isn't he?
I guess he would be.
I'm not being funny. Like, he's the guy
you're right.
He's
played.
You're
right. Yep. He would be the guy.
Plays occasionally. He's a right shot guy. He would be the guy, the next guy up. They hope they don't have to go down that road.
I was posed this question last night. I'm curious how you would answer. We can go around the table. What is your mini Jerry, which is becoming consistent? We have every time we have Johnny on, we do a mini Jerry. Mini Johnny. Maybe it should be called Mini Johnny.
Oh,
What's
Much
your
better.
mini Johnny on the Vancouver Canucks making the playoffs next season?
Oh, wowzers.
Yes.
I'm going to say...
I'm going to go first. I'm going to say 30% because I have no idea what the hell Elias Pettersson's going to be like next year. Like, that is the ultimate. That's the ultimate question mark for that organization. Do we have a guy that's going to put up 100 points and be dominant and play against all the other top centermen in the Pacific Division and throughout the league, or are we going to have a guy that gets 7 goals and 14 points? Because it's a big damn difference. Johnny, go ahead.
I was going to say 33, Like, so we're reading each other's minds. Like, so Pettersson wild card, Brock Besser likely to leave, Rick Tocchet without a contract. So I don't know what that means as far as who the new coach might be. They have Quinn Hughes, who I think is just beyond good. Like, he is lit. It's Makar and him are the 2 best defenders in the world. Like, he's so good. Demko, I don't know what's going on with him. They just have so many question marks. And even if Demko is healthy, and even if the back end is relatively healthy and Pettersson plays at an 80-point pace, I still don't know if they score enough in the Western Conference. Far more unlikely than likely. 33% mini Johnnies.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, man. I mean, things change quickly. This time last year, it was 100%.
That's what I mean.
Right? Like, this time last year, we would have said 100% they make. Everything is going against them.
He was going to fall apart.
That's the issue. My bigger concern, it's twofold. It is It is Demko and it's Pettersson. Like, that's it. Tocchet, coaches can be replaced to get in a new guy. I think he probably ends up staying there, but who knows? We'll see. But if Besser walks, this team can't score anyway. If Pettersson is a guy that's going to give you 50 to 55 points, you're done. It's probably over before it even starts. And if Demko can only start 20 or 25 games, Kevin Lankinen cannot drag you to the promised land. I just don't believe he can. Lankinen's got to be your number 2, maybe a hybrid guy. But they need Demko to give them, I think, 41 starts. And I think Pettersson's got to be at least a point per game guy. And I can't really feel overly confident that either of those are going to happen, let alone just one of them.
Yeah.
I'm low on this, too. I'm going to go lower than you guys, 29%.
I'd go higher than y'all just because look, this has been such a strange year, like such a bleep show year.
Yes.
Right? Where you need some space from this year. This guy, Pettersson, has been a 100-point guy.
Been a calendar year, though, Dave.
I know.
Like, this isn't a 2-week stretch. He's been brutal for a year.
So, but my thing would be, look, they've obviously assessed the situation there. They got an experienced management group there. They may need just a fresh voice. I'm not saying, like, Tocchet's one of my favorite coaches in the league, but they just may need a new, fresh voice in there, shore up the goaltending, do a little bit of the Washington Capitol magic, bring in some key free agents, take a swing at those, change the air in the room to some degree. And you got to look, ultimately you're hoping that your 100-point guy is still a 100-point guy, and we don't know the answer to that, but I'd bet on talent. I'd bet on his talent. And
he's got a lot of him, man.
I wouldn't put it at 75%, but I'd put it at 50-50. I'd put it at 51%.
Reasonable. That's reasonable.
But that's okay. I mean, you got to think, though, Vegas is not going to get worse. Or, they're not going to get better than Vegas. They're not going to be better than Edmonton. They probably won't be better than L.A., given the talent that those teams have and where they are in their sort of cycles. So, they're going to be battling maybe for the bottom of the Pacific or a wild card spot. Also, Connor Garland, who's one of their guys who kind of scores in that team, he's also pending UFA. Tia Suter, who you will laugh at, who's got more points per 60 than Elias Pettersson as your $2 million. He's a UFA. Even bringing back the guys they have is going to cost them more. They're in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot. They sort of loaded up for this year in this group, and it didn't work at all. And they're not in a great place to kind of pivot out of it. So it'll be a challenge.
But Johnny, I mean, if the Blues
teams make it, so 50, somewhere around that number is not crazy.
If the Blues hadn't won 9 in a row, they wouldn't be that far out of it. Right now,
no,
given all the crap that's happened.
And they would get dusted in the first round.
No, for sure. But we're talking about will they make it? And, they're not that far away.
Hey, Calgary last night, man, that was a gutsy win. I'm not going to move off the idea that they're not going to make it, but they're 5 points back with 2 games in hand. That was, to their credit, that team has not died.
Ryan Lomberg and Adam Klapka.
Yes.
Those guys scored in the third period to tie a game. You're having a good team run
yes.
when those guys are leading the charge to get you back in the game. Also, just food for thought, I think Utah gets pretty good next year because they got a boatload of money, an owner who wants to spend it, and a good core who's already under contract. If their goaltending holds up, I think Utah could be a player next year.
Okay. Yeah, the hockey club, they've been kind of in the mix at times this year.
There's not many good UFAs out there, guys. The guy here, Mitch Marner's the guy. And then Tavares, and then Duchesne. There's not a lot of sort of impact UFA guys out there. So, if you want to bid hard for Marner, and this is what he's hoping for, there'll be teams like Utah that will do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the hockey club. That could be interesting. Yeah, it could be very, very interesting. Have fun down there in Salt Lake City. All right, Johnny, we'll leave it there. Good stuff. We'll do it later in the week.
I can have a lot of fun with $100 million anywhere.
Yeah, that is very, very true. That is very true.
Well, Johnny, you can go make just a whack of cash, but the idea, I don't know, to make something similar where you already have a whack of cash shoved in your bank account and becoming a legacy type guy, and people, I don't know. I've said it before. I played in a small market. Go play in a small market. It's a lot different, man. It's a lot different.
I played in Tampa and Arizona. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And you refer to the delta. You can say 100. So what if he gets $96 million here? What's $4 million? Is it worth it? Probably not, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the ultimate question, man. I guess we will soon find out. All right, MJ. Thank you for this.
All right, fellas. Have a good day.
Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com.
We're not going with mini Johnny. It's mini Jerry for life.
I think you're right. I should have
Yeah,
corrected
it was a dumb
myself
comment.
immediately. That's completely uncalled for. That leaped over my Sid off the power play comment as the stupidest thing I've said this hour.
That was harsh.
That was awful.
Well, let me flush it out quickly here. What I meant by that
This
was
is
not,
where Feschuk, this is where he comes up with a dumber comment.
No,
so go ahead.
It's not about being harsh. What it is it's in their best interest, I think, to probably move off of Sid. Like if you're committed to a rebuild and it's going to take 3 or 4 years, it's in your best interest to trade him, get as many assets as you possibly can, and have that, the elephant in the room of past success and just the legacy guy who complicates everything out of the way. Now, you got to do that delicately, but if he's not willing to do that, so be it. What I'm saying is, if I'm being honest with Sid, we have to start thinking about the future, which means we're not going to penalize you and say, you didn't do what we wanted you to do, so you're out or you're off the power play or whatever. We are going to be instructing our coach to consider other players in different situations, kind of like what Darko and the Raptors are doing here at times. It's like,
because that's a model of success right there.
I'm not saying it is, but you know what the long game is. Sorry, we got to play. We got to put this guy in this position. We got to put that guy in that position.
Dude, they're doing that right now to lose games.
This
That's
ain't
all
the
they're doing.
AHL, Hayes. That's what you do in the AHL.
Yeah,
okay.
This
is not a developmental league. You guess what? You hire a coach.
It is for certain teams.
No, well.
You don't think the San Jose Sharks are developing right now? They are.
Are you hiring a coach to lose games? Because if that's the case, then maybe you say, keep your best player off your top power play.
Maybe he's on it, but it's not running through you.
The best Penguin not named Mario Lemieux. Keep him out of the lineup, or let's give him sheltered minutes on the third line.
I'm not saying healthy scratch.
But you can't do that to Sidney Crosby if he wants to play. Yes, you can't do that to Sidney.
But that is my biggest question about the scenario, guys, is how does he want to keep playing there? That's what I don't understand. I understand he just recently he's going to be a point-a-game player for the 20th year, and everybody says he's just loyal. He's the most loyal guy forever. But what part of going out there, I know the fans love you love the fans, like, what part of you wants to go out there and get the crap kicked out of you every night and just lose like that and be embarrassed? That part of it, I have no idea what he wants to be a part of.
Well, he's committed to it. I mean, he knew it was coming this year. There's no way he could have looked at that depth chart and said, we're a playoff team.
And let's face it.
He's a brilliant hockey mind. Let's
face it, guys. Like, the fact that they re-signed, Malkin and Letang, like, Sid had something to say about that.
Absolutely.
Don't kid yourself.
He was in on that. Of course he was.
When you start handing over control, not that he didn't sign the documents, dog, but they gave Sidney Crosby some sway there to bring that band back
that's
together.
That's a dangerous game,
time.
man. For him to say you better bring back those two guys, and if you just nod your head and say okay, we'll do it, that's just bad business in pro sports.
So maybe
knowing that it would be a mess.
Yeah, but maybe that's part of the reason why he feels he's got to stick around, because he wanted it.
That's valid.
He's got to wear this mess too. Like this is partly on him.
But that I guess we're all, we're maybe looking at it through different lenses or different stages. That's what I'm saying. Like, for how long are you just beholden to, we do everything for you? Like, at what point do you have to say, we have to start thinking about different areas of our future here? And that's where it can get uncomfortable, including, hey, it's always run through you, Sid. You've been in this situation. We got to put a different guy in that situation. Like, I gotta play this guy in a scenario like that.
But they don't have a guy.
I'm not saying today they do. Obviously they don't. But a year or two from now they might. Maybe they win the lottery and all of a sudden there's some kid going first. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah,
maybe that McKenna kid's in Pittsburgh in 2 years.
You never know.
It wouldn't be shocking. And then it would be Lemieux and Sid, where it's like, hey, Mario, thanks for everything, but this kid, he's got to play here. And you be his mentor and you do your
I'll
thing.
Tell you what,
anyway,
I can't think of a better person to have in a hockey dressing room when you bring in a bunch of new kids than Sidney Crosby.
Absolutely. And he's going to be professional and be committed to it. So I actually think he would be open to all of this. Hey, you got to work with us here because we know what we are. You're here because you're a legacy guy and you're loyal. We're not winning right now, so you got to help us get into the next generation. He'd probably be open to that. Why else would you stay? I mean, he's not stupid. He knows they stink. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to win in the future. I mean, it's not going to happen. Or not next year anyway.
That's what people were saying about Washington a year ago.
I know that. But
saying.
they got Strome, they got Dubois, they've got Chychrun, they've got Sandin, they got a goaltender. We'll see if Dubas can do that.
As far as I know, those guys were available at every other team.
That's right. Dubas didn't go get him.
No.
Neither did
that's all I'm saying.
Freeland. Neither did
everybody acts like
you.
it's impossible. Like you can get players that can actually play. That you can find them.
That is true.
They're out there.
You just got to scout them and get them.
Yeah.
And they got to fit in. All right, we'll continue with Confirm It Deny. Craig Button in half an hour. And Dallas Braden coming up on the Torpedo bat. I almost called it the Turbo bat. The Torpedo bat.
Same thing.
It's the same thing, basically, and his take on Scherzer and the cortisone shot and what could happen with him in the future. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Craig Button coming up in about a half an hour. Dallas Braden will join us. These Torpedo bats, man, I'm telling you. Something's going to give here, Dave. I don't know where you stand on it. We talked a lot about it yesterday.
What's the pitcher's response going to be? They're going to go nuts, aren't they?
Well, I mean, you don't have to use it. Not everyone is using it. And you could avoid throwing pizzas right down the middle of the plate.
And it's
that
legal.
Would be helpful.
It's completely legal.
It is legal until they decide, you know what, this isn't good for business, which they could do at any point.
Are you kidding me? Like, the commissioner's office is popping champagne over the.
Do you think they're happy about this?
We've been talking about how do you get more offense into baseball for how long? The pitchers have had the advantage for how many years? Mm-hmm. Pitchers have been mowing guys down, throwing 100. There's no balls in play. There's too many strikeouts. Everything's a home run or an out.
Well, that's going to continue with this. Everything's going to be a home run.
Well, they'll take the home runs over the strikeouts. I'll tell you that right now.
Explain the take. It's bad for baseball, bad for business. I think you said. What does
Who
that
said
even
that?
mean?
Me?
You did.
I didn't say it was bad for business. What I said is, I am curious if they're going to allow it, if they're going to accept it into the future, if this becomes some sort of scenario where it is such a cheat code where, the balance of competition sways the other way. And I'm not convinced that's going to happen. It's way too early to know that. Only so many guys are doing it. But if, like we just mentioned, Ellie De La Cruz put it in play last night. He hit it. He used it for the first time in batting practice yesterday. He hit 2 bombs last night.
Incredible.
Like those balls are still in the air, man. They're flying out of the state of Ohio
He's
right
freezing
now.
His ass off.
He's so cold. It's so cold there. You can tell the ball's not flying, and this guy's destroying baseballs.
Amazing.
Like, is it amazing to see? Yes. But so would using an aluminum bat.
Well, it's not made of aluminum.
No, I know that. But the reason they don't use aluminum bats is they're like, that's a cheat code. We can't allow you to do it. Where if the stats come in where it's like, this is just getting carried away. Pitchers can't possibly keep these balls in play. If you connect where it's connecting, I wouldn't put it past baseball to say we have to discuss the idea of maybe outlawing this and going back to the same bats we've used for 130 years, which were the conventional-looking bats.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Like, what happens if Aaron Judge throws one in play starting tonight?
You know what he said? He said, I don't need one. When I have
Give
something...
him time. Give him time. Give him a slump.
Yeah, wait till he goes 0 for 12.
Yeah,
or something.
give Aaron Judge a slump.
Throw me one of those torpedoes.
That cat hits 85 home runs in a season.
There's your mini Jerry for the day. Aaron Judge hits a slump. He puts a torpedo bat in his hands. What's the percentage?
Not zero,
I think it's
man.
50. I think it's 15. He even said, you think it's 90?
I think if you're going, first of all, Aaron Judge going through a slump, he doesn't do that very often. But if he was in a slump, and most guys go through one eventually, I mean, why wouldn't you try it? I mean, if Ellie De La Cruz, last night was the greatest advertisement for it you could have, where Ellie De La Cruz, who's a great hitter already, becomes an even better hitter the first time he tries the thing.
Like, what if Ohtani puts one in play?
Right.
Like, this guy just destroys baseballs already. And again,
Hayes, I think you're making it like it's automatic success once.
No, you still got to hit, man. It's just like steroids. Like, you can take them, they help you still. It's CNI. You've got to have the ability to put the barrel to the ball, and a lot of things have to go your way. And again, I think if you were to look over the pitches where these guys are hitting them, they are right down the middle of the plate.
Right.
Like, it's not a cheat code to the point where you can just fling it, down into the ground. It's going to fly out. You still have to swing. You've got to connect, and you've got to find your right pitch. None of that is changing, but it is a crazy debut of a piece of equipment. I've never seen anything like this.
No.
Like, this is, I don't even think you can come up with an equivalent. And again, maybe it all just fades away. Maybe in 2 weeks, it's like, actually, it didn't really work. The numbers are the exact same. It's all a mirage, and guys got hot. That's possible. That could be happening. And in baseball, they're going to flush it out with data and sample size, and they're going to have complete detail on whether or not these things give you a competitive advantage. But if they do, everyone's going to start using them.
Oh, yeah.
And if everyone starts using them and home runs go up around baseball, yes, fans will benefit. I think you're onto something that baseball could probably and maybe should look at that and say, this is a home run for us.
Great.
But pitchers count in the game. And the Players Association, the pitchers are going to say, what the hell's going on here? Like, let us use some
Has there
sticky
been any
tack again.
blowback
or
yet
something.
from pitchers? Like, has any prominent pitchers
pitchers
come
have
out?
complained.
They're complaining.
They're complaining.
But
Of
they've
course
been
they
cheating
are.
for years. Like, they were cheating with spider tack.
And they got rid of it.
Well, there's still guys that
I know that.
There's
but
always that suspicion that, the spin rate went up there a bit. How did he get the spin rate
It was
up?
legal for a while. Then the league was like, we can't allow this. It's a competitive advantage.
I still think the guy coming off the mound and the umpire rubbing his hands is still one of the most awkward
dumbest thing of all time.
Oh, my God.
That's
I'm
what
gonna
they start
keep-
doing.
yeah,
It's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
Show me your palms, please.
But I mean, there's always those guys that say you can put it on certain parts of your body. Like you can put a little tack here, a little tack here, and just get a little on your fingertip. You don't need it all over your hands, just a little bit on the fingertip. I mean, who knows?
I hear you. And listen, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Right. But my point is, this is a gift. They've been like we were talking. They were talking not too long ago about maybe they're going to have to put the mound back another 6 inches, or they're going to have to, lower the mound a little bit to take the pitcher's advantage away because guys are throwing too hard. I mean, those conversations have been happening. Right?
Yeah.
And the pitcher advantage has been way too big. And this is just like, let's hope. Like if I'm Rob Madford, I am crossing my fingers that this thing actually is going to work.
Yeah.
And it's actually going to make Shohei Ohtani challenge Barry Bonds' record, and it's going to make Aaron Judge into a even bigger monster than he already is.
Listen, you're selling me on it. I understand what you're saying, and I think the marketing camp it is way easier and way more beneficial and I think fruitful for the sport to obviously promote home runs as opposed to pitchers throwing strikes or getting guys out.
Yes.
I mean, that home runs sell. Like that's always power baseball is always going to sell. And this may have just fallen into your lap. And there's nothing nefarious about it. Like you said, it is legal within the rules. Other teams had access to it. The Yankees made it pop here. The Yankees and Michael Kay, the voice of the Yankees, talked about it during a broadcast, which really made it explode. But I guess what I'm saying is the cynic in me looks at sports leagues and they do themselves damage all the time. They step in the way. Look at golf. We got to bring the ball back.
Yeah.
Guys, we got to go back to the way Jack Nicklaus used to hit a golf ball 40 years ago. I wouldn't put it past baseball to say, this doesn't feel right, or it's going to be at the disadvantage of whatever, or I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to attack it or someone tried to attack it and get it out of the game.
It all
the
depends
tush
on
push,
what
we're
happens.
going through it right now in football.
Yeah. It all depends what happens in the next 2 months. If this thing levels out and it's just like a month thing where guys tried this thing and they saw some results, a lot of guys grab a new driver on the range and they hit a couple bombs and they're like, yeah, this thing's really awesome. Well, guess what happens 3 weeks later? Yeah. They're a chop and a hack and they're a 20 handicap again. So this is all going to depend on what happens.
Yeah, same. Thank you. Me and you both.
Whatever happens in the next 2 months is how this is going to play out.
Yeah,
if this
you're right.
continues to go nuts and take off, then they're going to say, okay, party's over here, joke's over.
This kind of reminds me, like, it's a bit like when the graphite sticks came into hockey, O-Dog, where the goalies were complaining, like, these guys are firing pucks at velocities we've never seen before.
Right.
Suddenly, it used to be one or two guys could shoot hard. Wendell Clark had a great wrist shot with a wood stick. Now everybody's got a great wrist shot with a one-piece, the one-piece, East
Hey,
tape.
nobody benefited from the one-piece graphite stick than me. I was known as like a playmaking center, and I grabbed one of those things in Ottawa one day. I asked one of the Sens players for one, Andreas Dackel. He was using it, and I just started ripping home goals as soon as I tried this thing. Completely changed my game.
Yeah.
Like that one-piece stick. I was shooting it better. I remember Dregs telling me when I started working with him, he's like, Cujo told me the graphite shafts, when they came in, you were the one player that became a shooter, and the puck was coming off the stick way different than any other stick you used.
Yeah.
Change your game. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to change anybody's game, though.
Well, I don't know either.
We don't
but
know.
what I don't think will change is like Aaron Judge is still going to hit more home runs than anybody else. I would presume, and I think Shohei Ohtani, and I don't think it's going to get so extreme where guys are hitting 80, 90 home runs in a season. I don't think that's happening. And again, I don't think that would be good for baseball to completely change the history books completely. But again, it's still going to come down to dexterity. You still got to be able to read a count. You got to read a pitcher. You got to read a scenario. You got to put barrel to ball, and you've got to hit for power. But where you may see some difference is the guy who used to hit 15, he hits 20 now.
Right.
Like, and that's where it could be a little bit different. Is the guy who's 7th or 8th or 9th in the lineup, not a quote-unquote power hitter. Now he gets the barrel on that ball, and it does just get out. And those are minor differences, but they can have a big impact on everything in the sport. And, maybe that ends up happening. Dallas Braden will join us at 6:30. We'll get his take on this. A pitcher. I have a feeling I know where Dallas is going, but I don't know. We don't want to put words in his mouth. We'll find out from him. We'll catch up with him in about a half an hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, we've sent Al's brother out into the city with another pair of Leaf tickets. You got to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. Let's get to the second clue of the week.
Hey, Overdrive fans. Happy Tuesday to you. I'm back with another clue to get you one step closer to finding out where is Al's brother this week. We're giving away Leafs and Habs tickets for April 12th. Here is your Tuesday clue. I'm already earmarking my calendar for a specific street festival that takes place here in June. And I'll get me some authentic spaducci and gelato. And there's a lot of great pizza spots in this area.
Okay.
Dude, he's in Little Italy, wherever that is.
I know. Well, yeah, I think I know where he is. Tune in tomorrow for another clue. The first caller through on Friday with the correct location wins a pair of tickets to see the Leafs play the Canadiens April 12th. Find Al's brother, brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora, our family, the Ford family, and you.
You think he likes a spadooch?
Man, do you see how excited he was to say? He closed his eyes.
Wow.
Like, that was like he was in an altar or something, like speaking to a higher being about spadooch. Okay, there you go. Al's brother. Shout out. Hour 3 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.